Hello everyone, I'm Revati and welcome to my Crafty space. Today's video is a recording of my AECP class from June 6th, where we created this absolutely gorgeous feathered beauty on a fun textured background. I'd absolutely love for you to join me in one of my upcoming workshops. Be sure to check out the description box and the pinned comments below for all the details on future classes. And well, here's a little bonus. If you sign up early for one of my educator workshops, you'll receive a 20% discount code on supplies you'll need, which is always a nice perk. Now, since this is a live class recording, today's video is a little longer than my usual ones. Along with the card making techniques, there are a plenty of crafty conversations, questions, and fun moments with my wonderful classmates. I definitely recommend watching until the end so you don't miss any of the tips and techniques we share throughout the class. I also want to apologize in advance if the audio isn't perfect in a few places. Live recordings can be a little bit unpredictable. With that said, let's jump right in and get crafty.
Right?
Yes.
All right. So maybe we can give it a minute and then see if anyone else is joining, and then I can begin. Okay. So this time I kept it very clean and simple. This is no splattering, nothing. Because anyone who's attended my class, they know how much I love splatters, and not everyone.
thought that was
does. So this was a
mandatory.
really difficult card for me because it's like, there's no glitter, no sparkle, no splatter, nothing at all. It's like I left it. So that's why I've not yet put it on a card base also, because I was like, maybe I'll just add a teeny tiny bit of sparkle before I put it on. So yeah, I mean, it's all right. Let's get started. So, if anyone who's not using this feathered beauty die set, any kind of bird would do. I had like multiple options in the supply list, so you could use any bird. Also, we are using the arched foliage embossing folder and stencil. Now, I know embossing folder was an add-on set and it was not part of the kit. So even if you have just the stencils, that's fine. We don't need the stamp. I can show you how we can do this with a stencil also. So that's all right. And for colors, so we will be die cutting the bird using white cardstock and ink blending. So you don't have to use the exact same colors. You can like use any color combination you like. Make it rainbow color, as colorful as you want, as little as you want. But then, yeah, this is the basic idea of the card. Okay, so we will start with die cutting first. We'll first work on our bird and then the background. And if you don't have this particular arched foliage background, any foliage or even the foliage that is included in the kit will work for this. So we don't need the flowers. We'll just cut out the foliage and then with white cardstock and then, add just lightest bit of color, because our main focus is going to be the bird and not the background. And just to tone down that stark white is why I have added all the color. Okay. So we will start with all the big pieces first. Hey, Rachel.
Sorry about that. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Okay. So we'll start with all the big pieces and the body. So we will leave the beak and the face piece. So we'll leave this piece for later. If you want to cut it, because this is a tiny piece, I don't want it to get lost in, all the coloring and ink blending that we do. So that's why I prefer having the big pieces first, and then for the finishing touches, we can cut this one and this one at the very end. But then if you guys I don't have a lot of space on my craft room, so that's why I will keep this for the end and then cut all the big pieces now.
Darling, I'm going to go upstairs for a little bit and start the project with her. And I'll come down after and take my pill. And we'll eat around 7.
All right. So just plain white cardstock. I personally prefer using plain white cardstock over colored cardstock. That way I get to choose the intensity of my inks and what color I want. But then if you want like a colored cardstock, that would work too. But then for me, now, for example, if you see this bird right here, I have like different intensities. I have orange right here, then I have yellow, and then I have like plain white at the very end. So that way I get to color I get to like, decide the intensity of the colors I want. So that's the reason I use plain white cardstock for most of my die cutting. Okay, so let's start with this. The two big pieces. Let's place everything together. So I just run everything together at once, so you don't have to keep going and going again and again. It's just those small pieces that I could have placed them here, but then it's really tiny and I don't want to lose them. So since like layering dies like these, I personally like to keep them together. Like I know this die belongs to the body of the bird. This is the top wing of the bird. This is like the bottom layer. So that way it's not confusing when we go to assemble. There are, I think, little numbers etched on it, but then this is how I like to store it. So, I mean, it's again personal choice. Now, this one won't be as much as an issue because you know the difference between the big feathers and the small ones. But then usually when there are layering dies like these, I like to store them like together or like, pair it up. Okay. So here I have my small dies. For ink blending, you can keep this as is and just insert this back into like, puzzle piecing it together and ink blending. Or for me, I just keep it on the ultra sticky mat and ink blend it directly on it. So if you wanted like an extra hold or support, you could just puzzle piece this back into place and then ink blend. But personally, I feel this is also enough. There. Now, for this particular card, I have used these sets. So this one is Citrus Punch and Tropical Tango. So these are the two sets that I've used and different intensities of colors. But like for all my workshops, I ask the participants, like, if you want me to use the same color or do you want me to experiment with any other color? We have some pinks, purples. If you want any color, like if you want me to stick to that color, I can, or you guys are free to suggest any color combination that you want to see.
I like the purple.
Purple?
Yep,
Purple with-
purple.
It's just different.
Yeah. Should I do purple with pink?
Yeah,
Okay.
looks good.
All right. Let's do that. Okay. So now for this one, to create more of that fiery effect, I have a lot of red or the orange and then very little of the green. So we will have one dominant color, which is like this bird is like almost reddish orange. So same way, we'll have one dominant color in these two combinations also. So either it'll be a pink or the purple. So whichever. So let's do purple, the dominant color. So we'll have light of the pink and the darker tones with the purple. So we'll use deep iris and midnight violet for the darker tones. And we'll stick to baby pink. We won't use any of these, not the fuchsia, magenta, or the jazzberry. We'll just stick to baby pink. So that way we create this effect, the lighter effect. Okay, let's bring our... Now, to color these, what I like to do, instead of bringing all the feathers together, I will bring them in sets because you don't want to add the same intensity of color to every feather. You want it a little different. So I will keep these big feathers first, and then we will color the tail in. And then at the very end, we'll do the body. So let's bring our baby pink. And for all these, I prefer using these small ink blending brushes. For this particular one, we don't need the tiny ink. We don't need this one. What's this? The detail. We don't need the detail for this particular project. But then if you're using any other bird other than this one, and if you see there are like small spaces, you can use this one as well. So, all right. So there is my baby pink. Now, when we are applying our base layer, which is the lightest shade, what I want to do is from the base of the feather, try to bring in the color till the tips. Now, if you want the entire feather pink, you can color in the entire feather pink, and we will be adding the purple. But then in this case, I left my tips white. So I'm not bringing the yellow to the very end. Same way here, I will not bring the pink to the very end. I'll just show one and then. So I am very light-handedly adding more color towards the base, and whatever color is left on the brush, I will bring it to the very end. Is this light disturbing?
No,
It's good.
I mean, not me. I'm okay.
So I am not bringing the color to the very tip of the feather. Why do I always tip of the petal, and then I realize, okay, this is not a petal. So if I say petal, I mean feather. So just like that. That again is my personal choice. So if you want to bring the color in, you can definitely do that. I'll do the same exact thing for the left feather as well. But then when we come to these two feathers, we'll do it a little different. So first I will color this in. So now for this one, you can either bring the whole of pink to the very end or just add a little bit of variation so that you get those deep layers. Now I'm not sure if you can see this here, but the top layer has a lot of orange and yellow. But then if I lift this particular thing, I have more of orange to the end. It's not yellow. So it's basically just to show that dimension. So if you color it exactly the same, and even if you layer it up, it wouldn't, bring out the dimension in the bird. So it's just adding a different intensity of the ink. You can also go in for a darker shade, the fuchsia ink, but then just make sure it doesn't look exactly the same as this one. So for instance, probably I'll just add color to the whole thing. I'll bring it down. I still have a little white spaces, but not as much as this one. So with all the bird season coming in, I'm literally sitting watching all the birds outside the window and trying to figure out how they look and mm, yeah, the colors basically. So so they look like a simple single color tone when they are just sitting. But then when they fly out, I was like, oh, this looks different. This is not what when he was sitting. So I was like, okay. So maybe we can implement that on the card as well. So, all right. So these two. Now we can bring in our purple. I will start with a lighter shade, maybe lavender, and then go on increasing the intensity of the color depending on how dark we want our bird to be. So let's start with lavender. Okay. Now here again, just like we did with the pink, I will have more color on the top and we will just fade the color as we come to the bottom of the feather. The lighter purple will give just more of an ombre effect, but as and when we go on increasing the depth of the color, you get that deep, rich purple there. Now, if you see this one, you can barely see the pink. It's very light and subtle. So if you feel like, you need more of that pink, just ink blend right over that. Because most of this piece will be hidden. So this part of the feather will be hidden. So whatever color will be seen will be mostly on the flared out part. So I'll do the same with the bottom feathers as well. So you barely see any of that pink here. Next, I will take my deep iris and the same ink blending. Only thing, I will not bring it as low as the other two colors. I will stick to the base of the feathers. Now for this one, if you feel like you need to use those detailed ink blending brushes, you could do that. But then, yeah. So those are my feathers. Now this is the base layer feather and this is what will go on top. So you can just place it on it just to see if you like the shading you get. Now if you feel this is a lot too white or very light as compared to what you like, you can just go back with pink, the first color or the first color that you used. So you can just add a lightest hint of color there. So this is what our wings will look like.
It's
I'll just move these aside and bring in my second set of feathers. My second set is going to be this one, the small feathers. That is what you see over here, this one. So this one will have more of the purple or any of the darker shades that you've used instead of the pink. You can have the pink, but then more of the darker shade. Okay. So if I'm bringing in the baby pink again, now this time I will be coloring the whole of the feather. I'm not leaving any white parts here. So I will add ink all over. And for this one, I'll make it a little bit darker than what I did here. And here I will skip the lavender feel, which is the lighter purple that I used, and I will go in for the two darker purples, deep iris and midnight violet. Now, if you're using just one shade of ink, you don't have to like have multiple shades of ink. If you're just using one, just add some elbow grease, like go in really hard on that and then build the color. So I know the pink won't be seen as much here. It's not very visible, but then I'm not sure. I don't think you can see it on camera, but you still get those pink undertones. So it's not exact purple. Here also, you get slightest yellow undertones. So that's why we added the pink. Just small details. Okay, now I will add my midnight violet.
Hey, everybody. This is Josie. I was late coming back from a lunch date. I was wondering, I don't have that purple set. Which of the other purple sets would you say would be a good substitute?
So I just have this one purple. Otherwise, let me just check. So I don't think I have many colors. I think do you have hydrangea and ultraviolet?
I do.
I think
I think I have both. They're in different sets, actually.
yeah, so there is let me just check. So these are still not open. So Tracy actually sent me these colors. So I think for the light purple, you could use Wisteria.
Uh-huh.
And then you could also use, and for these darker tones that I'm using here, instead of deep iris, you can go with hydrangea. And instead of the midnight violet, you can go with ultraviolet. I think these would pair well with the pinks that we're using. These are the
Okay.
only purples that I have in my stash.
Okay. So wisteria, hydrangea, ultraviolet, and what's the other one?
This one is Andromeda.
Okay, Andromeda. Okay.
Andromeda.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. But I
Okay.
think
Yeah,
these
because
three colors would be good.
because I have the pink set that you have.
Uh-huh.
So thank you.
Yeah.
Are you recording?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Perfect.
Yes. Okay. Okay. So we are done with the three big feathers that go on the two sides. Now we'll do with the tail part. I'll just set these aside and clean my mat before I go on to the next layer because I have a lot of purple there. And I don't want to contaminate my baby pink paintbrush. And sorry if you can hear my dog snoring, but then he won't leave my side.
Aw,
Yeah.
that's lovely.
Yeah. He was sleeping with my little one, and then I closed the door and he started whining, and then both of them were not sleeping. I was like, okay, at least one can come outside and sleep. So yeah, he's always by my side. And he snores.
Aw. Well, you know he's there.
Yep. Oh, he's never leaving. But then it's strange when we go outside, it's like he doesn't know me. He'll just walk away and then I keep calling him kiddo, kiddo, kiddo. And he's like, who's that? I don't know you. But then at home, he's my shadow. So
Aw. He's just interested in what's going on out there.
yeah. Then he's like, oh, who mommy? Like, I don't know you. And, okay, whatever. Okay, so for the tail piece, we will do exactly what we did with this piece right here. This was the piece where I brought in the pink a little more down. So this was my first piece. This was my second piece. So we will try to do exactly or somewhere close to what we did on the second piece, this one. So we will bring the color a little more towards the end as compared to what we did here. So this will be our reference. And that's because there are little dies that you can place on these feathers, which is white. So you don't want a lot of white on white. So that's why you're bringing the color down. So again, I'll start with my pink and then add the purples. So that's layer number 1 with my baby pink. Then I will bring the lighter lavender fields. And the lighter in the other one was, I believe, wisteria. Okay. I still have a little bit of white space, but then it's not as prominent as what we did here. And then the darker you go with the colors, make sure to stick to the base. Don't bring it as much down as you did with the lighter shades. So that'll create a little bit of an ombre effect. So here, I bring it closer. You have the dark, you still see the light lavender fields, and then if you go down, I can still see the pink. I'm not sure if you can see it here on camera, but then in person it looks, I can see the 3 distinct colors. So yeah. So all our feathers are ready. So far so good. Like, anyone wants me to take a break and maybe stop or pause, I can. Okay. Now for the body of the bird, we have 2 different sets. One which has the keyhole, so this will go under everything. You won't be able to see this. this is what you'll see. But we will add color here just in case, like, we don't adhere it right or some part of it is shown. We'll just add the lightest bit of the base color, whatever base color you've used. If you've used yellow as shown here, that yellow, or if you've used pink, we'll use pink, or whatever base color or the lighter tone, that is what we'll be using here. And the same color we'll add here also. So I will start with baby pink on both these pieces. So coloring this is not required, but then I just like to, have color on it. I don't want to see any white from, like, showing through the bird, just in case I don't adhere it properly, or yeah. Okay, that's it. It doesn't have to be perfect. This one doesn't have to be perfect. Only thing, you just don't need that white. Okay, coming back to this one, I will add pink on the whole thing. Okay. Now, once I've added pink, so this basically is the face of our bird, and this is where the tail goes. So something like this. So we will bring the purple at the end. Now we'll keep the head pink and add purple to the end. So basically, now if you see here, I have yellow on top. Here I have yellow on top. And then instead of bringing the color from top, I will start ink blending from down. So in this case, we ink blended top to down, but in this case, we will ink blend from the bottom. So I'll just show you this one. And for this one, I will skip the lighter lavender fields. I'll use the two darker tones. Okay, so I will bring in my deep iris, and I will just, I won't go to the very end, maybe till the wing area. I still want a little bit of that pink to show. Okay. Next, I'll bring the darkest shade I have. And this time, just half of the body. I won't even come to the very top. So there you see. So this is how he looks. So whatever base color, very little of that base color will be showing here, and then you just create your ombre with the darker tone you've used. Okay. So now most of the big pieces are ready. We will first assemble the bird and then die cut these tiny little pieces. Because these don't have any ink blending over them, so we can keep our mat aside. We just will adhere all the other pieces. So I will take this little guy and we can keep this aside. Okay. So here now this is fairly easy. You have 3 different keyholes. All you need to do is align them together. I will start with the tail portion first. So the reason being, when you add this over here, let me get a cardstock so that'll be easier. So when we add the tail, and then when we go to add the big wing should overlap the tail. That gives it a more nicer look as compared to like the tail overlapping the big wing. So that's why we'll add the tail first. Now this one is fairly simple. What I like to do is I like to adhere these 2 pieces first and then put it down everything together. Or the other way, you could just add these one by one. Make sure your keyholes align properly. So you don't need a lot of glue, just around the keyhole is good enough. And it's okay if your glue is oozing out, none of this will show. So even if you get a little stray glue here and there, it's fine. It won't show in the final bird. There you go. And that's feather number 2. So that's my tail. Not my tail, my bird's tail. Okay. All right. So for now, these 2 pieces, if you look very closely, there's a number etched on it. This one says 4 and this one says 5, so you could make out. But then if any other bird you're using, it should probably have the number code on that. So I will start with the left side. You could do both right and left together, but I just like to finish off one side and then go to the other side. So again. Now here what I'll do is, instead of just around the keyhole, I will just add a little bit of glue here also, so that the wing holds properly, it gets a little more sturdier. So there. So that's wing layer number 1. And then we'll add layer number 2. Again, for layer number 2, I'll just add glue on the outside as well. But for this outside, just make sure there's not a lot of glue because this part will show. So you don't want all that glue to be oozing out. And this tiny little one that we colored is layer number 3. So that's the left side of my bird. We'll do the same on the other side also. So this is what I was saying. The feather overlaps the tail. So that's why first adhere the tail and then the feather. Wings. Sorry. Oh. I think by now you guys get it. There we go. And then we have layer number 3. So that's my board. Now for this layer, if you wanted, you could add a low dimensional foam tape just to give it a pop, or glue it down directly. Either way works. The reason being, these 3 feathers that we added gives a little bit of dimension. So if you all don't like, that a little bit of wonkiness, you could definitely add some foam tape, a very low dimension foam tape, or else just glue it as is. So I'll just use liquid glue. In one of my other projects, I think I'd used foam tape. That looks good too. So there. So that's our little board. Now, when you die cut the body of the bird, you must have also gotten this little die piece. You can layer it as is, white on the color, or you could, if you wanted to color it, you could use whatever ink is left on the lighter tone. If you've used pink, you can just ink blend a little bit of pink on that. If you've used yellow, you could just add a little bit of yellow on that. For this bird, I left it white. So this is how white on the colored bird would look like. So if you wanted to look similar to the bird, you could just add whatever ink is left on your blending brush. You don't need to pick up more ink for this particular layer. So I will go ahead and add this little thing as is. So our bird is almost ready. We just need to cut out the remaining part of the die cut. Now at this point, if you want to add any sparkle or like shimmer spray to the bird, you could go ahead and do that. But my challenge for this class was no sparkle, no glitter, nothing. So yeah, it's like my hand is itching. Oh, I need some sparkle, but then okay, I'll just leave it as is. So, but yeah, if you guys want to use any glitter on your bird, this is the time so that it gets like, some time to dry while you work on the other pieces. Okay. So in this die set, we are just remaining with these two little pieces. So that is what I'm going to cut with my white cardstock. And we'll not be adding any color to these pieces. Just the beak, we'll be coloring it with just regular. You could use black cardstock for your beak, or I would just add color with some marker or, black sketch pen or marker or anything. So yeah, for both these pieces, I'm cutting them using white cardstock. I'll just use this one maybe. Where is the other piece? Also, you could use white glitter cardstock to cut out these pieces. So the pieces that go on the main wing, this one, and these pieces, if you don't want plain white cardstock, you could also use glitter cardstock. Now with the little beak piece, there are these three pieces here. For my card, I didn't end up using this particular piece. I just used these two. But if you wanted to use this one right here, what you do is, instead of adding white on white, just bring in your blending brush, add a little bit of shading there, not a lot, very subtle, so that it's not white on white. So if you see, it's not a lot of white, but it's very lightest amount of pink there, so that it's not like, really stark white on white. Again, don't pick up any color from the ink pad, just whatever is left on your blending brush, that's more than enough. So this is what it'll look like. This is better. You see that? Okay. So now I can go ahead and adhere this piece. Now, if you don't want to adhere the small piece, you could definitely leave that pink as is and leave it there. But then since I wanted to adhere this, I added a little bit of pink here. I didn't want that white on white. Okay. So I'll add the slightest amount of glue here. There, this is what it looks like. So I have the slightest bit of pink on top of his head. Okay, now for this layer, the eyes and the beak, I kept it black, just plain. So you could go ahead and die cut this again using black cardstock, but I will just go and use my alcohol markers and just color it black. So what I like to do is keep this on a scrap piece of paper. This is a really tiny piece. That's why I didn't cut it in the very beginning. And I just like to roll my alcohol marker over it so that I get the color there. That's it. There you go. Tiny piece. I really don't have the patience to die cut it again with black cardstock. So that's the reason I do this. So okay. Now be careful when you're adding liquid glue to the eyes and the beak because you don't want a lot of liquid glue there. You don't want the glue oozing out. So his little face is ready. I really love the purple and pink combo.
That's pretty.
Now we have these little pieces. That's what we are going to add on the tail. Now how I figured this out is, now there are a total of 8 pieces, but if you see there are a total of 10 feathers sticking out. So I just add the pieces on the outer feathers. I'll leave the middle feathers. You could also do alternate, but then it pretty much fits now. For example, this piece right here, this one, will fit this particular layer. So every piece actually fits in one of those pieces. So if you see the packaging, it fits exactly where it says it will. So I like to do it at the very end. That way, you know, I kind of decide where I want it to be, or like, you know, some I may or may not even use all of them, depending on like, you know, how full or how clean and simple I want it to be. So that's the reason I put this at the very end. And also at this point, if say I feel, okay, I don't need a white tail, I can still have like, you know, I still have time to color this in. So that's the reason I put this at the very end. Okay. Did I keep my glue in? I'll just attach one of this to show you how white would look. If you guys don't like the white, you can color it like maybe a light pink or the light lavender fields that we used. So this is how it'll look with just plain white. You can just wiggle it around and see if you like that look.
I love this guy. So fun. It's so pretty.
Yeah.
I like the white. I think it's a really nice definition.
Yeah. So if you want to add white on the lower part of the wing, you can just, feather, you can just pull one out and then, easily stick it in. And this can go back in place. Now, according to the packaging, this is like you do it at the very beginning, but then I like to keep it to the very end. Just like I said, like sometimes I feel like adding, sometimes I don't. So it just depends on what look I'm going for. And there we go. So that's the white on the tail. And now since I lifted this, it'll be a little bit raised, but I kind of personally like that look because that kind of gives it a little more 3D look. It's like adding foam tape to this. But then, yeah, if you like it flat, when you go to glue on your card front, you can just stick glue all over. Just 2 more pieces left for the wing, these tiny little pieces you see. Okay. The bigger piece will go on the left wing and the smaller one will align with the right wing. So where you put is, remember the last third wing that we colored, it goes on that. So this is the body of the bird that we colored. This was the third wing that we colored. So it'll go on that. So again, very tiny amount of glue. You don't want to see the glue oozing out.
I tell you, I've been avoiding doing this bird because I found it very intimidating and it's really not
It's
hard.
not. So yeah, that was me the very first time I used this bird. As like, oh, I mean, once I got the die and I saw so many dies, I was like, oh no, I shouldn't have ordered this. I don't think I'm ever going to use it. But I think this is the most used die in my Altenew stash, I feel. I add this little guy to almost everything. I even created kind of those wall hangings where the birds like, with
Yeah.
my son, and he really loved it. And yeah, he was like, Mama, pink bird, Mama, blue bird. And then he just went on. So
Aw.
Where we live is a huge amount of these birds and blue jays. So this
yeah.
would be perfect to use and not hard.
Yeah, so that's it. Our bird is ready. Anyone used sparkle on the bird? Come on, anyone.
I refrained. You just want to get your high from someone else. That's it.
Yeah. Someone please
Nail,
post
nail
that.
tips.
I'm trying to refrain. I'm trying to be good too.
I don't do glitter or paste.
So, okay. So now our focal point is ready. We can work on the background. Now, if everybody has the embossing folder, that's awesome. Very simple. You just run it through the embossing folder. Just So we need some space to have our message and make sure that the bird fits. So what I'm going to do is I will slide it a little on top so that, sorry, a little on the bottom over here so that my bird fits in perfectly. And also I have space to write my message.
Yep.
So that is what I will do. If you guys don't have embossing folder, what you can do, so you have two stencils, right? Now this particular set comes with two stencils. So you will take stencil number 1. I'll actually show with the stencil first and then we can do the embossing folders later. But if you're doing the embossing folder, you just have to use one stencil. You don't have to use both your stencils. But let me show you how I'll do if you have only the stencil. So I will bring my sticky mat. Now using just the stencils will not give you the exact same results, but we'll still manage.
Y'all get the food already? Oh. Oh, I thought you went with him. That's fine.
So what I'm gonna do is I will bring, so this is stencil number 2, which has like the etched marking there. And stencil number 1 does not have etched marking. It just has the open space. So what I'll do, I'll take stencil number 1 first.
Oh, come on.
Okay. Now there are 2 shades of greens that I have. We'll mix and match all these. But for the very first layer, I will use the lightest possible green I have. Like it should barely be seen, that kind, like, Now here, I didn't even use stencil number 1. I just ink blended whatever ink was left on my blending brush and just added that green just to tone down the white. But since here we are using only the stencils, what I'll do, I'll take the lightest green I have, say maybe limeade. This one, I'll take this. Or now this is my ink blending brush. I'll just, whatever is there, I'm not even taking any ink. Just lightly add whatever ink is left. We don't need any of that stark ink on our first layer. That should be good. Okay, so when I lift this, you can barely see it, but then it's there. So this is how it look. So I didn't use any ink. Whatever ink was on my ink blending brush, that's exactly what I used. And then I will come back with stencil number 2 and try to align it with whatever we ink blended just now. And this time we will pick up ink, but not as dark. Like I wouldn't go reindeer moss. I would stick to fresh leaf and lime. And if I'm taking this one, I will stick to olive and antique olive. So I wouldn't go dark because our main focal point is our bird and not the background. Background is just so that it's not white. So let me go with maybe olive. And also, even if I'm using the darker shade, I will not be pressing it a lot, very light-handedly. So I will just put some color and very lightly, not a lot of color. I'm barely like rubbing it and just add ink there on the open spaces. Now, if you feel there's a lot of ink on your blending brush, just tap it to any, maybe your glass surface or even on the stencil, just tap out the excess ink and then you can add it to your stencil image. So that was layer number 1. Now, again, I will take the same Olaf, take a little more ink, and this time I'm sticking just to the base of the leaves. So I'm getting a transition. So tip of my leaf is a little bit white, very light green. Midsection has the Olaf and the base of the leaf has darker shade of Olaf. I could use the sugar kelp as well, but that'll give me a more intense look, which is not what I want on my project. So that's it. This is how it'll look. Okay. Now, don't just keep not yet the blending brush. We can use it again. Now, whatever ink is left, just add around your foliage. Because the area around the stencil image is still white. I don't want that white. I want a little bit of green there. So that's the reason I'm doing that. So you can pick up very light amount of color. Make sure you dab it out and then add the color. I'm not adding color to the mid section here, just on the outer edges where my foliage is. So this is how it will look. Now, if you don't have the, well, it's the Craft Your Life kit. So otherwise, another option is you could use this stencil. This will again create a pattern, but again, don't add a lot of color in the background because the bird is the main focal point. So this is option number 1. Option number 2 is creating your embossed background. So I can show you that as well. Where did I keep the... Okay. I'll just run this through the embossing folder. And now this is my embossed panel. For this one, I will be using only stencil number 1. I'm not using stencil number 2 at all. So I'll just align it to my stencil. And do the same exact thing that we did here with the second set of leaves. I will go with Olaf with a very light hand, and then again go with Olaf, but just on the base, heavy-handed. Again, for the embossing folder, if your stencils don't line up properly, or like, you feel that the inks are going into these tiny spaces, it's all right. It's just like giving a little more organic look to the cut front. So it's fine. So you don't have to be perfect here, is what I'm trying to say. So I'll just bring in a little bit of that Olaf on all the leaves. I'll just show you guys how it will look with the sugar kelp. So before you guys add a darker layer, I'll just do it for you. If you like the look of it, you can go for a darker layer, or else you could go with the tone on tone. So this is just to show you guys how it would look. So you can decide which design looks better for your card front, or which color combination, sorry. So the sugar kelp will give it a little more darker look. Just see the comparison and make a choice. So this is just Olov in two different ink blending. This one has Olov and sugar cap. So this is the difference. So if you like this kind of a look on your card, you could go with that. I'll just show how the board will look on it. This is how the board will look with a darker background, and this is with a tone-on-tone background. Again, I will bring my blending brush and add green all around. I don't want this to look so bright white. So and then I'll add very light ink on these raised leaves also, so that it does not look out of place. So these are the two backgrounds. This is the lighter tone-on-tone background and only with the stencils. I've not used any embossing folder on this one. And this is the one with embossing folder and a little darker background. So whichever you prefer. Now, if you've already done this, you can definitely go back with your stencil and add a darker layer if you like this look. Either one works fine. That's it. I think I'll go with the embossing folder. And before I stick this guy, I will just trim the panel a little bit because I like having that white border. And then we can stamp our sentiment and then stick this guy. So this panel right now measures 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. I'll be trimming it down to 4 by 5 1/4. So I will try to trim like maybe 1/8 of an inch from each side, or you could trim 1/4 of an inch from two sides. So now this side, like how I decide how much or where I need to trim is, I like this part, but I'm not very happy with the base here. So I will trim 1/4 inch from here instead. So that's how I decide where to trim the panel. This panel now measures 4 by 1/4. If you guys like splattering, you can go ahead and splatter. Before adding your sentiment, you can go ahead and splatter. Black would look good. Gold would look even more better. Well, all right. So
You're trying to tempt.
yep, I am. Is anyone falling for it?
I'm not for a change.
Oh no.
No.
All right. So now is the time we'll stamp our sentiment. Now I have a few options. You could definitely use a die cut sentiment or a sentiment strip. For my original project, this one, I used Wishing You a Beautiful Day from Nature's Magic. This is a very old set. So I prefer using sentiments like these because this would be a good birthday card, anniversary card, thinking of you card, or just sending out wishing you a beautiful day wish to a friend or family. But then you could use any sentiment, but make sure when you're stamping your sentiment, just place the bird and then stamp so that you get an idea where the bird and the sentiment goes. You don't want the bird to overlap the sentiment. That's the only thing we need to take care of. So I will bring, and also there is no heat embossing today. You've attended most of my classes, Jen. You know how much I love embossing.
I know you do.
This is a challenge for me. So I was like, oh my
It's
God.
it's beautiful. It really is. Just as is. And that's why I'm gonna go with just as is, au naturel.
Yes. So so there are many beautiful sentiments on this one as well. This is the new Leaning Lily set. This is from the new June release. There is Wishing You Comfort and Calm. This is also something I feel like, can be many, like, occasion cards. It does not have to be just sending comfort and calm. But then, and then there is May, each day bring you new strength. You could use this one as well. Um, I generally don't use sentiments like you are writing a miracle story because, again, that's like I cannot send it to anyone and for any occasion. So, yeah, most
Yeah.
of my sentiments are like, okay, I can use this sending smiles or sending hugs or, anything of that is something I like using.
Actually, thank you to this class because I will be using this for my hop on Friday, which is sending sunshine.
Ah,
Because I use the surround yourself with people who feel like sunshine.
yes.
I like that one.
Yeah.
I think that's very positive.
Yeah, because I mean, I do make birthday cards also, but then something like this, card front like this could be anything, like sending sunshine. It does not have to be birthday. It's like sending hugs or like he's just flying with a big hug and, that
Yeah.
kind of a thing. So it does not have to be a specific project. So that's what my take on these cards are. Like I usually never create cards that are like very specific or it has to be generic for me. Otherwise, I'll be like, okay, what do I do with this card? And Yara, I am so bad with sending the cards out. I have my box ready, but it's just ready. It's not yet out. So, well.
Yara will keep you honest. She'll keep you on your toes.
Yes.
My box is half done because of my accident, but
Oh.
now I'm gonna start working on it because I'm behind.
Oh. So I usually like to use the grid transparency just to make sure I line it up properly because after doing all this, I don't want to make it all wonky. So I was like, okay, let's just add our sentiment. This looks fine. Okay.
Well, I have thoroughly enjoyed this, and I'd wish that I had joined more in the past, but I will now.
Thank you. Yeah. I do have a couple of workshops coming end of this month, which I'm really looking forward to because that's the very first time I use those. I use the Sakura set and the ocean theme, the June release, and I'm really loving it. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to those classes. So I'll just stamp it. I usually like stamping with pigment ink and not the dye ink because I feel it's a lot darker and more crisp. I don't know, it's just personal. But then if I'm going for a more matte finished card, that's when I use my dye inks. All right. And that's our card front. Before I stick my bird on my card front, I'll go ahead and attach this on a card base. So there we have it. So I always like to have a white border on all my cards. So
Hey, baby.
I'll be using foam tape for this one.
I was very excited to get this arched foliage when you had it, and it was on sale. And then with your discount, I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that was very nice. I'm glad I had waited. I was going to get it before, and I just kept putting it off, and now I know why.
So I got the arched foliage and I was like, okay, this is going to be my first ACP class and everything. And then it went out of stock. I was like, what? No.
It's not supposed to do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so popular. That's for sure.
Yeah. So then I had to email them. I was like, look, I have my classes planned and then it's out of stock. Please do something. And they were like,
Help
yeah,
me.
in a week. So
Oh,
yeah.
that's very good.
Now for my bird, I will be using foam tape. You can use liquid glue to directly adhere him, but I like a little bit of pop on most of my focal point images. But I'll be using a very less dimension foam tape. It's not going to be like popping out and, because you have to send it out and postage is expensive. Like, so yeah. So if you're using foam tape, just be careful it doesn't show through. Most of it is covered, so you don't have to worry about it, but just in case, if so, I just like, cut these small circles into halves and then put. It might be a little work, but then it kind of stays through the mail, so it's worth that little bit of effort.
Well, that's smart. Yeah.
Yeah, I just cut it right here on the sheet and then so
Very smart.
there and maybe one over here. So these foam tapes are really thin, so even if like they bend in the mail, it's not as bad if I was to use like a usual thicker foam tape.
I am going to go and eat. Thank you so much. You have my email,
Yes,
Netta.
Netta. Okay,
If
yes, Netta.
yeah, it's probably my real name's Netta, but Netta is a
Netta
nickname.
is
But
good.
yeah,
All right.
keep me informed.
Yes,
I
yes. I
appreciate it.
will. I do have all the posts and all the details on Instagram and even on the Facebook page. So if you're
Okay.
interested, you can just send me an email and I will send you all the information. And well, this
Okay.
is our card. This is done.
Yeah.
And yeah. Yay.
Thank you. All
Thank you
right.
so
We'll see
much
you
for
guys later.
considering
Bye
that.
bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yep. So, okay, now I'll use this panel to show another technique of splattering. If you don't enjoy splattering, come on, guys, it's all right. All right.
You just had to.
So if you don't like using a paintbrush, or if you feel it's too messy, you can just use any gel pen you have, or even your alcohol marker. So this one has like a fine tip and a brush tip. So what I like to do is just add little dots here and there. Like I'm not measuring the dots. So, or like it doesn't have to be perfect. Careful, boo. Some dots may be a little big, some may be small. So it kind of looks like a faux splatter. So now here I have a big splatter, and this is a small one, and it doesn't have to be perfect. Like you don't have to count how many. So so even when I'm using my splatters with watercolors or any pigment ink, I kind of tend to go in a diagonal way. Now, if I was splattering this one, I would splatter it in this direction, in the direction of my focal point and my sentiment. Even if I'm, say, using any sequin mix here, I would go in this direction. So that's how I do it. So say for this one, if I'm trying to do diagonally here, and this is my focal point, say this is my focal point. So I would add splatters. Some will be a little bit bigger, some will be just a tiny little dot, some will be even tinier. So I'll just add random dots here and there, and then maybe a big blob, maybe on this very edge. So that becomes a splatter. So some who don't like watercolor splatters find it too messy. This is another way to do it. You can do it with black pen, gold glitter pen, silver glitter pens. So, so that's the splatter.
It looks really real. It does. It looks
Yes,
really
it
good.
does. So you wouldn't know that this is done using a pen. Like,
No.
and this is a lot more controlled because you get to decide where you add your splatter, and it's not messy. There's no drying time involved here. So you can just like on the go kind of. So, well, yes, this is the card.
I love it.
Yeah.
So that was the card for today. I will have links to all the supplies that I used to create this project listed in the description box below. Please know that all of those links are affiliate links, which means that if you shop using one of my links, I'll get a small commission at no cost to you guys. Also, don't forget to check out the description where I'll have more details about the future classes. Thank you again for joining me today. Until next time, stay safe.